There we go. Okay. And I just get a message from Facebook, so give me a second. I'm gonna mute my stream. How do you feel about military shooting games? Hmm. Depends on the era and style, I suppose. Like Battlefield 1, I'd probably like. Uh, Red Orchestra. That's a nice FPS. So that's more of a that's a far more realistic shooter than most games in the FPS genre. Yes, new look, same great taste. I was like, fuck it, I'll just do a stream because I'm bored and I'm tired. And then I was like, well, wait, I kind of don't want to sit and look up Roman numerals anymore. So there ain't gonna be any Roman numerals. And there's like part 80 is that'll be last year's. We'll go with the part 80. All the Roman numeral ones will be season one. So there's 80 episodes for season one or series one. Series one sounds a lot cooler. Uh, Modern military third person. Meh. There's been so many Call of Duties I've played. It's just meh. Like Call of Duty 4 was okay. Multiplayer wasn't all that good. I don't know why people think Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare is like the be all end all. Uh, Controversially, I think Modern Warfare 2 is a better game, story wise and multiplayer wise. Black Ops probably the first Black Ops probably has the best. So series 2 is what? Drink names or mottos? Uh Not sure. Not sure yet. We're in a brave new world, Sten. So I might I might go with that motif because now that I think about it, if I wasn't going to do new look, same great taste, I was going to do now cures throat scratch, which it was a Lucky Strike motto back in the 50s with Santa Claus. Yeah, that's right. In the 19, I think it's the 1950s or 40s, there was a Santa Claus Christmas advert in magazines and stuff with Santa Claus holding a carton of cigarettes saying now cures throat scratch. Like I think like a number of doctors agree that smoking cigarettes helps a sore throat. Yeah. No. No. That's not going to help. That's probably what's causing your throat scratch. So I might do that. There's I got centuries worth of fucking mottos I could come up with. I could go to snake oil salesman mottos or something. That'd be neat. Plus, they'd be more memorable because then people don't have to go. I think the one Darth did here. I think it's episode uh X something or whatever. I don't fucking know. I don't because apparently people don't know Roman numerals anymore, which is sad. Fuck cursive though. Like I still know how to write in cursive and I know all the letters and stuff, but fuck cursive. I hate cursive writing. But biggest thing I want to talk about in this podcast, it's the thing that spurred me to do this podcast is comic books. Um so I've been having some I've been having some gripes with comic books as of late. And I've been really thinking about comic books. Uh, Probably the past month and a half. Uh, my brain's been thinking about things of days gone by, like my comic book series I wanted to do and still want to do, but financially and time wise, it's infeasible. Absolutely fucking infeasible. Writing a novel would like writing a novel is leaps and bounds easier to me than doing this comic book idea. And there's two comic book ideas. Um, One of them is an old comic book I used to do in school. Uh, Literally just I would draw panels, whatever panels I needed, and I just went on. It was just off the cuff, like whatever came to mind and whatever I wanted in the comic book happened. And it was a I'm sure I've talked about it on this podcast. It was called Blood Squad. I know, edgy for a middle school slash high schooler, but it was based off of the Vietnam War, World War I, and the Korean War, set in space. And it followed the 290, I think it's the 298th Special Forces Division of a certain fleet, and each member had their own names. I gave them security numbers, basically that their IDs on their dog tags, blood types. Like basically, I gave full detailed information and dossiers for each person, and they each had a code name. Or call sign, and the main characters were named after all the characters in the Knights of the Round Table. So the main character's code name, because he was the leader of Blood Squad, was Arthur, and then you had Lancelot, Gawain, Bors, uh, Mordred, so on and so forth. So you had all these characters, and then the ship, like I had like all the ship classes, like each squad in this comic book series was named after another mythological story or something. So you had like uh one leader's call sign would be like Gilgamesh, another one would be Odin, so on and so forth. And so it was basically just a comic book set in a 3-year time span during like a decades long war, and that was about it. It was just the tours that were done with this one division or one group company of men over the course of their 3-year excursion in this war. It was okay. I used to sell them. I'd go to the library in middle school and high school, and I'd print out copies of what I had done. I would first draw it and write it and work on it in a notebook, like a lined notebook. And then once I had fully finalized the line art and stuff, I would then look at it and then copy it to a 8 by 11 printer paper sheet. So there was no no lines from the paper I would be showing up in the printing. And then once that was done, I would color it or ink it, depending on whatever I had at hand to get the colors ready. And then I would just print them front to back on paper, and then spend a good solid half hour to an hour putting all the pages together, stapling, binding them, stapling them, and putting them into a pack, into a Manila envelope pack, so I could bring them back to school the next day and then sell them for 25 cents a pop. It was like 30 pages for 25 cents. Like I was totally fucking underselling for profit, but I was just like, yeah, 25 cents. I sell if I even sell 4 fucking comics today at school, that's enough to buy me a fucking soda at the vending machine, or I could probably buy an extra sandwich at lunch if I'm extra hungry. And so that's what I did for quite a few years. But that's one I want to do again. I kind of want to go back to it and actually do a more detailed uh idea, like uh emulate certain battles from Vietnam and Korea and World War One to kind of drive home the message that war is not pleasant. A lot of the people that read the comic used to think that that it was just well, I can't really blame them. I mean, we were all fucking preteens and teenagers at the time, so everybody was like, "Oh man, this." It, if anything, it me doing that comic book in school kind of made me realize and understand the '90s for comic books. Like I was like the guys I was drawing, and I hate saying this because it's kind of cringy. It w- Republic Command Republic Commando had a very very big inspiration for the design of the suits, the combat suits and weapons of the Epitomis Blood Squad. So it's basically just a Republic Commando comic book where they were fighting these amoeba-like aliens, and basically it's like the Separatist Army, but not quite. It's basically a coalition force of multiple insurgent groups. So basically, it's the space Viet Cong, and the amoeba dudes were essentially Nazi Germany slash China in terms of economics, their power, and their clout in the galaxy, and so on and so forth. And so there'd be episodes where, or issues, not episodes. There'd be issues where the Blood Squad would be down on a planet, and the entire episode would not have a single firefight. They would simply be just going through impoverished cities that have been bombed into existence because or out of existence, uh, and just talking to locals, having a trans who's a native to the planet, trying to find out where insurgents are held up, weapon caches, and if they found and I think in one issue they did in fact find an insurgent camp, and they had already been warned ahead of time that that the squad was moving in to apprehend them, and so all Blood Squad did was just burn it down, and then they were called off because they were needed somewhere else on the front lines. And that's it. Like the whole episode, the whole issue is simply them following American soldiers were doing in Vietnam, trying to find the insurgents, and the insurgents were always one step ahead of them. But what really shows and makes me grasp what was going on in the '90s is the characters were always decked out in a fuck ton of guns, uh, gratuitous violence up the ass. Like there's decapitations, artillery shells are just eviscerating people. A lot of splash pages I used to draw of said decapitations or gory headshots, rockets going through a human torso, the aliens getting fucking blown up into a million pieces, ships exploding. It was Michael Bay comic books with Star Wars aesthetics and gratuitous violence. Thankfully, no massive shoulder pads and no impossible amounts of pouches. But that was the main allure of the comic books that I was making, was everybody wanted to see the new, what would happen to the characters. The characters were the most stock characters possible. They barely had any personalities or backstory. Like most of them were orphans. Like most of them were orphans because their parents had fought in the war and were killed, and they had nowhere else to go, and so they were essentially they enlisted or were forcibly drafted. Some of the characters just wanted revenge because their colony had been destroyed, so on and so forth. Barely any character development. They were all fairly stoic badasses, and people are always wanting to see what kind of insane shit my characters are going to do next. Like, are they going to blow up a capital ship with just four men against 5,000 men on board. How are they going to do it? Oh, I can't wait to see if like one of the characters in Blood Squad becomes a traitor and he becomes this I wouldn't even say biomechanical. I'd say he's like he's a he gets capped. He hates the main character. The main character's name is Neil. Uh, and I forget what this dude's name was, but he hates Neil. He's jealous that he's the one that has the leadership role because before Neil came into the squad, he was leader. He commanded the entire division, and then Neil is just a better tactician and soldier. Yep, accidentally knocked that over. And so the men respect Neil because he doesn't send them in to the slaughter. So it's kind of like the old guard against the new, even though they're roughly the same age. And so one of their many battles, and I think it was like the longest arc, quote unquote, if you can say a 10-issue arc is long. Well, yeah, 10-issue arc is pretty fucking long, but those are usually crossovers. But basically they were on a planet fighting tooth and nail, and it was basically a linchpin for a major offensive. And so if the Federation forces lost and had to retreat, they would not have enough men to hold the line should the enemy forces actually try to punch through their lines. And so it was a do or die situation, essentially. And basically, Neil gets shot and injured, and the asshole is there with him, and he chooses to leave Neil to die from his wounds and assume command. And he basically lies to everyone. He's like, oh yeah, Neil totally died. Like, I tried dragging him, but like his wound was too bad, so I had to ditch him. And everybody's heartbroken, sad that like their commander is fucking dead, KIA on this battleground, and battle's lost. The Federation has to retreat. Neil becomes a bounty hunter for some reason, because I was like, Boba Fett's pretty cool. Let's have Neil be Boba Fett for a few issues. And so I didn't show Neil for like 10 issues, and all my friends and everybody else that used to read the comics or ask me like what's going on, like what am I drawing, I'd be like, and I'd tell them what was going to happen in the issue, because I honestly think people were just buying it more because of the pretty artwork than the actual story, which is something that happens a lot with Marvel and DC. Zing! There's one one below the belt punch for those two. But they find out, but Neil comes back as a bounty hunter, and he tries killing / basically he tries assassinating asshole, and he's found out. Everybody finds out that it's actually, and like the big shocker is, I'm Neil, and they're like, oh no, it's Neil, my god, he's alive, how did you live? And then he just does a big long exposition dump of like, yeah, I was a bounty hunter, I was making a living, I'm one of the most feared bounty hunters / assassins because I'm just that much of a badass. And now that I've somehow, like, for some reason, I never came back immediately to exact my revenge on asshole, or to just, go to a Federation controlled system and be like, hey, I'm alive, send me back to my squad. No, I'm just going to be a badass that goes on badass bounty hunter adventures just for shits and giggles. And now I've come to seek my revenge. And so he gets, asshole gets outed, he runs away. I forget what happens to him. He basically defects. He comes across Neil once more because it's destiny, or so. I don't even remember half the fucking storyline. It was just so convoluted and cheesy. He gets completely obliterated, and then he turns into Dirge. Essentially, he's Dirge from the Clone Wars series, because I was in middle school and I was like, Dirge is fucking awesome in this series. Let's have Dirge in my comic book. We already have the Republic Commandos being badasses, and we have Boba Fett already. Let's throw in Dirge. So he becomes Dirge, and that's what happens with him. And I don't even know how many times I had him get his limbs amputated, or he got exploded, or his head cut off. And at the very end of the episode or issue, he's reattaching or regenerating either on the battlefield or in like a Kolto tank, because comic books. But yeah, like I would ease back the insanity of that series and go for a more quote unquote grounded space epic, space military epic. But there's that one. But the other one I've been wanting to do is a webcomic series, because I feel like webcomics would probably be a vastly more like a webcomic series would probably be better suited, because we're in the internet age now, and so more people would be invested in actually taking time to read it per se. And it's basically Shadowrun with Marvel characters, which I've mentioned a few times. But again, the scope in my time schedule, there's no way I'd be able to do it. There's like just alone, there's 6 main characters. Each one would have their own series, their own comic book series, and having to write and draw every single issue would be insane. And if we go for a and if we go for a 30 page, like an average 30-page issue per character, that's 6 30 page. That's 180. Yeah, that's 180 pages that I would have to write and draw, and then put into a coherent sections for each one monthly. I would have to do it monthly to get this, because like there'd be no like that's the problem with it. Like, I release one issue, and then 6 months later you get another issue. People are just gonna be like, fuck it. I'll wait until he's done like 10 of them, and then that's like then by if that happened, I'd be like, well, what the fuck's the point if nobody wants to read the damn thing? They're all waiting for like the next issue, or just to binge read 10 issues. And I've got to do this with 6 characters. It would just be no fucking way. But the thing that drew me to this was my ranting. Exactly, they're gonna lose interest. So the thing is, I was ranting kind of on Facebook, and I was okay. So my topics, or my points for what I would do in my if I had the money, the time, and I had a team of writers, like say I had a team of writers and artists helping me, like cohesively work out everything. It would have to follow these, I think, 5 rules that I like, set in stone. That nobody can veto me at all. And I feel like this should be something comic book companies should have already, adhered to, because it's common sense kind of stuff. Like, first rule, no retcons. Like, I would never retcon anything. I wouldn't be like, oh well, this happened somewhere, and people like, no, I'm not going to change a character's name or add something to an earlier story that actually didn't happen, but I have to retcon it so it adds more drama. No, I'm not doing that. No retcons. Um, Two, consequences remain and affect the character from that point onwards. Like, love interest dies, that's going to be like, that character is dead. That's it. Um, That's another rule. If a character dies, they die. End of story. Like nobody can overturn me. Like if I was able to do all this, like if somebody came up to me and was like, "I really like that villain, but they're dead. Can I bring them back like they faked their?" And I'd be like, "Nope, no." They like that whole story arc ended. Like the hero defeated the villain and the villain died. End of story. Like no, you cannot bring them back. And I would probably not even go into the whole like let's have three superheroes with the same goddamn name. No, like I'm not gonna have like five fucking like I would never do like five Captain Americas. Time travel. This is something, and this probably helped spur on this rant today. I was watching Linkara's Final Crisis three-parter for uh, Events Month. Time travel for me, I would probably only use it once, maybe twice, and that's it. And it would have to be during a crossover event, like a fucking Terminator style event, like a closed loop event happens, or uh, the future is altered slightly, and that's it. Like Kyle Reese comes back to comes back from the future, comes to the past from the future, tells the heroes like, "Hey, this is what's happening. You have to help me stop it." And then uh, they stop it, or they're just able to delay it. That's it. Like done. That's the only time travel. I'm not going to have fucking 30 characters going into the future or going into the past to alter things here and there. No, not doing it. Not fucking doing it. Because it's going to get too convoluted, and then again, you'll have to retcon shit. So no, not doing that. Uh, then there's crossovers, and this is again something that something Linkara and I have complained about multiple fucking times. Linkara's Final Crisis thing kind of proves my point, along with a lot of the crossovers. But a lot of the crossovers I've encountered have made me despise massive crossovers. That being tie-ins. I fucking hate when a massive crossover has tie-in books. Perfect example is when I was reading Ultimate Spider-Man back when I was in, oh Christ, middle school. Like I've read Ultimate Spider-Man from start to Death of Peter, and then I read probably half of Miles's storyline, and then I couldn't, I didn't want to spend the money for comic books anymore, and I was like, okay, I'm done. And so I would just look up the synopses and reviews of the issues that I didn't read. So I was reading Ultimate Spider-Man, and it had to have been like 10 issues in. I'm like, wait, Peter, like, because Peter's talking about like Peter right at the gate, like in from one issue to the next, he's now dating Kitty Pryde from the X-Men. And I was like, wait, what? Why is he dating Kitty Pryde? And so I find out, like, because I'm talking to my friends, and I'm like, dude, Spider-Man's dating Kitty from the X-Men? And they're like, yeah, it's in the X-Men. It's like in the X-Men crossover with Spider-Man. They got thrown into the Savage Lands for a reality show that was hosted by Deadpool, and both of them have a thing for each other, and they started dating in that issue. I'm like, wait, what? Matter of fact, it might be that one. If not, it might be when the lizard wasn't even in. I think the lizard was in a crossover. Doc Connors turns into the fucking lizard, and that's in a crossover with the X-Men or somebody. And it's like not even 10, 15 issues in. And so it's like and it's not even that big of a crossover. It's just, hey, let's have Spider-Man in this one story where he gets scooped up by Deadpool to be on a a fucking reality show where they kill mutants. Like, really? Like, that's the crossover where you introduce like a major plot point, not in the main storyline? Like, I don't know. It's such a tedious thing. And especially like I'm a big fan of the X-Men. I'm not. I just don't really like the X-Men. Like, I sympathize with the X-Men, and I actually was telling my brother like how fucking hypocritical the Marvel universe is when it comes to mutants. Like the fact that they praise the Hulk for being a hero and they love Captain America and you know all these other superheroes, but hey, these superpowered people that are genetically born with these abilities, fuck them. Let's be horrible racist to them and try to exterminate them. And that's seen as a normal fucking stance in the Marvel universe. Like, hypocrites. You guys are hypocrites. Like, the majority of New York does not hate Spider-Man. Like, J. Jonah Jameson hates Spider-Man for the most part. Like, not a lot of people you see in the comics actually poo-poo Spider-Man. They're always like, "Hey, there he is. There's the web slinger." But oh, hey, he's dating Kitty Pryde, that disgusting mutant. Like, even in the comic story, in the comics, in the Ultimate Comics at least, Kitty goes to the same school as Peter. Cops show up to arrest her, so she can put in a concentration camp essentially because the mutants can't be trusted. But they're okay with they're okay with Peter like web swinging around and fighting a giant goblin. Like, it's fucking insane. So going back to the whole crossover thing, I would do 3, maybe 4 massive crossovers. That's it. Like, say intent like every decade, or yeah, around every decade. Maybe not even a decade. Every 5 years there'd be a massive crossover. And after 15, 20 years that's it. Like, also people would not there'd be no no side books, no tie-ins, none of that. Like, if you don't like a character and they're in this book, I'm sorry, but they're going to be in this book. But the thing is, if you don't read those comic books and you don't know the character, don't worry, I've got you, fam. Like, I'd have their motives, their quirks, uh, and their actions would be shown alongside the dialogue between characters. So people who don't know the character will understand who that person is. Like, oh, he has heat vision and super strength, and he's adamant of, like, I don't know, radical freedom. Or, oh, this dude's a dude that never misses and he can shoot with gun. He has like 2 handguns that he has specially crafted to kill vampires, and he believes in Nietzsche's fucking philosophies. Or this guy's a nihilist and he wants to destroy the whole world and he has nigh omnipotence through arcane means. Like, granted, these aren't characters that I have, but those are basic examples. Like, you'd understand their motives, their goals, and their abilities just from reading the story. Like, and I'd also have, the writer, if I had the writers working on the stories and they're throwing me their ideas as to like what they want to do and we're on agreement, I'd be like, okay, we're having a massive crossover. All of you are going to write what your characters would like, what the characters are going to say. That way, there isn't like, because that's one problem I hate about comic books is that writers change the voice of a character ever so slightly, or they'll have characters act completely out of character in a crossover or when they're in another comic book. Like if Spider-Man jumped into a Thor book, the writer of Thor is going to write for Peter, aka Spider-Man, and Spider-Man's not going to sound the same way, or he's going to be like they're going to exaggerate his dialogue because that's how they think Spider-Man talks and acts and does things. Wouldn't happen with me. Like everything's gonna work. I'm gonna be like Kevin fucking Feige or Feige. Like everything goes through me. I screen everything. Everything is going to mesh well so that the audience will enjoy the story. Story first and characters. And then there's going I think it's point 0.6 that I had that I mentioned was there'd be an end. There'd be an end to the series. All of them. Like every single one would have a beginning, middle, and end. And it probably like all of the stories would probably end in a massive crossover. And basically the setting is 1980s cyberpunk. So picture late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, like around that, like late 70s, early 80s, and there's cyberpunk shit. So major events that would happen in our timeline culturally would happen. Cold War still going on. Fucking few things here and there. A lot of geopolitical shit has changed. Like Manhattan has become uh, has been seceded from the United States. Manhattan is now its own autonomous neutral zone. Megacorps are a thing. The EU is a lot more economically powerful. China is more powerful. Um, what else? Forget what else I had for it. Uh, geopolitical wise, but basically it's our world but slightly different. Like certain things have changed slightly. And no, I will not be like because I know like when I was talking to my brother about it because he saw me jotting down notes here and there, and some of my friends have asked me once or twice about it. No, I'm not going to explain the past. I'm not going to pull a Fallout where like there's a divergence from our timeline. It's just 1980s cyberpunk. That's it. Like World War II happened, World War One happened, cyberpunk. Like that's it. Cyberpunk stuff. There's biomechanical stuff, bioengineering. There's fucking cybernetics, cyborgs, robots, AI, holograms, the whole 9 yards. Everything you could think of cyberpunk. Flying cars. Like it's Blade Runner 1980s. Like deal with it. Like it's a fucking it's a comic book series. Like nobody's really gonna complain too much. I mean, granted, some people would probably be confused or probably curious as to why it's like that, but not really gonna explain it. Like I said, I like the setting is the setting. Like some of the geopolitical stuff would be played into the story, um, but it's more centered around the characters and their goals and storylines. It's about the characters and interactions with other characters and dealing with the events that happen around them. But other than that, that's it. But yeah. So those were my gripes and what I'd do with those comics. Um Oh, oh, haven't been around a while, so I can tell you guys some juicy gossip that's been happening at work. That's been something that's been grinding my gears. So there's a guy I work with named Kent. Now Kent's been working at my job, practically built the company. He was Donald's first employee per se. Um, Kent worked for Donald's father, and when Donald wanted to branch off and do his own thing, give me a second. Uh, so so Donald branched off from his father and made his company, which is where I work now. And he asked if Kent wanted to join him, and Kent said yes. So Kent's been working for him since he was like 18. Kent's now in his like early 60s. I think he's like 63, 63 going on 64, or 62 going on 63. And so he's leaving next month. Um, one of the companies that Donald does subcontract work for, uh, has been offering Kent a job for $45 an hour, benefits, benefits, and a pension, I believe. He doesn't have to load the street sweeper he uses onto the truck. He doesn't have to repair it. All he has to do is drive to the job site and get into it, turn the key, and do his job. That's it. He does a fraction of the work he's forced to do at Donald's for 3 times, 4 times as much money that he's getting now. And like for a decade, they've been offering him this, and he was just hand waving it away, like, no, thank you. No, I'm fine. I'm still going to stay here with the company, so on and so forth. And finally, he's just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll take it. So that's what's going on now. So he'll be leaving. He's already done orientation for it. He's already done the testing. Uh, he's got his like medical test. He got a brand new pair of boots for like 200 like a $200 pair of Red Wing boots for 595. Company paid for the bulk of it. He's getting a free pair of prescription lensed safety goggles, because he wears glasses when he drives. Uh, they paid for that and everything. Um, what else? He just got his special equipment. Uh, uh, he just got all his, as he calls it, his glow bug outfit, which is just the reflective gear. He got that. I've told Sten a bit about it. Donald ain't too pleased with this news, and he's been pissing and moaning. Um, oh fuck, was it last? Not this past Monday, but I think the Monday before. No, no, it was last Wednesday. Last Wednesday, me and Kent went out to cut up a tree because we've been doing a lot of tree work. Kent fractured 2 of his toes because he was lifting a 200-pound log in the snow, and it was snow covered, and he lost his grip and it fell on his foot. So he fractured 2 toes. He's fine now for the most part. He's still got it's a little tender, but he's fine. Um, but he's just been sending Kent out on bullshit work with me, like cutting down trees and cutting up the logs, then hauling the logs to a splitter, and then splitting the logs, and then loading that onto a basin. So we've been doing that for the entirety of the week. Not fun, but Then there's Scott lying to his father, and Cash lying to his father and to his grandfather. So Cash has been lying to Scott and Donald. Scott's been lying to Donald about what they're fixing inside the garage, which is causing Donald to get incredibly pissed off and lashing out at everybody who isn't named Scott and Cash. Um, what else? Uh, Also, what I found out yesterday was that when I was coming back with Kent after we hauled 2.5 truckloads, dump truck loads worth of split wood, and we still have 3/4 of a load to split and load, which is probably done today because I actually slept finally because I was so fucking exhausted. Um, Donald yelled at Haitian to back up the 1 ton in front of a tractor trailer truck. And we didn't know why. And so, in one ear, out the other for us, it wasn't our concern. My father later told me that the truck driver who uses that truck, Tommy, asked Donald for $1,700 because he needed to pay for an apartment and he was behind rent. And Donald gave him the $1,700. Tommy then took a load from the shop and brought it all the way down to Texas. And apparently, through the grapevine, Donald found out that he needed the $1,700 so he could buy black tar heroin, which is extremely cheap down in Texas. And so, what Tommy was doing was he was buying a fuck ton of heroin, bringing it back up here, and then flipping it for a profit. So, he was selling heroin to basically survive off of. And he was just using Donald as a cover so he could safely go south to Texas so he could purchase cheap heroin and then come back and make a profit off it. So Donald said, park the 1 ton in front of his truck so he can't get out. And now Donald's on the warpath in trying to find and track down Tommy so he could try and get his money back from him, which ain't happening. So that's fun. Such a lovely day. Um, I'm probably going to be built like a tank this summer. Not even the summer, like late spring, I'm probably going to be built like a fucking tank again. The amount of arm work and leg work I've been just whole body workout. Like a lot of people don't realize how intense the workout is for wood. Like people think, oh well, yeah, doesn't look that heavy. Fuck you. Fuck you, good sir. We've been felling oak trees, and I'd say the top parts, the peak of the tree, like the first 20 feet, we're usually felling 60-foot, 70-foot tall trees. First 20 feet is easy because it's mostly branches and brush. Once you get to the trunk and you start cutting the trunk up in 2-foot sections or 16 to 18 inches is roughly firewood length. 2 foot to 4 foot length is stuff that you're just gonna fucking basically throw out if it's pine because you don't use pine for firewood unless you are absolutely desperate because of the pitch inside of it or a fire pit. But nobody really uses it for a fire pit unless it's on their property. But it's usually useless. Just fucking throw it into the woods, let it rot, and be done with it. But a 16 to 8 inch like length section of log, and the log is like 2 foot round, you're looking at least 100 pounds, 150 pounds, just at the top. Especially if she's green, like if she's not a dead tree, yeah, you're looking at around 100 to 150 pounds near the top of the fucking tree where you start cutting these logs up. At the base, the heaviest log I lifted off of one oak tree we felled was yesterday. She had to have weighed all of 350 pounds. And I had to lift that probably 4 feet off the ground so I could put it onto the back of a truck because there was no way I was going to be able to fucking lift it and walk it 20 yards towards the splitter because ground is soaking wet because it's just marshland. The chick's lawn we're doing this at, she lives on wetland. And so a third of her lawn is filled with nothing but bamboo, pine trees, and oak trees. And the oak trees are just so old that their roots lifted up because of how windy it's been. Give me a second. Uh, okay. So, anyways, um, we're talking. I think it was 65, 70 mile per hour winds. Like Sten probably felt the fucking winds because of how windy it was last week. And for quite a while, it's been really windy here in New England. But yeah, the wind is just blowing down trees left and right in town and stuff. And so it's just been a pain in the ass for everybody. But these motherfucking oaks were rooted out of the ground. Like they're half their roots are just sticking out of the ground now, and they fell over. I'm telling you, base of the tree, 350 pounds. No way am I walking through wetland and muck. Like it'd be impossible. I would rupture my fucking biceps and probably blow out my back and probably twist an ankle or two trying to just wade through all this muck. So we found a dry patch. Found a dry patch of land that we could back the truck up on. Kent's personal truck, not like a dump truck or anything. Back up his personal truck on this dry patch of ground. We then got 2x4s and pallets, and we laid down the pallets. Hang on. Lovely. Be right back. Okay. I am back. So, anyways, yeah. Pain in the ass. Absolute pain in the ass. So if anybody tells you, like, if you're ever cut down a tree or something that, oh, well, it's not that intensive, fuck them. You can tell them to go fuck themselves. Like, hauling wood and splitting wood and, you know, anything to deal with woodwork in that, any tree job is just a pain in the ass. So, yeah, just bad times all around. Oh, it's fine, Stan. I'm just complaining about fucking cutting down trees and fucking carrying like Just people saying, "Oh well, it shouldn't be that heavy," and it's like, no, I'm lifting up a green oak tree, like an 18-inch section of it, and it's gonna weigh at least 200 fucking pounds at the base. Like, no, it's fucking ball breaking work. Like, don't try and fucking hand wave. Oh, it's not that heavy. You do that kind of work day in day out. Break your fucking back. Christ, when Donald told me and Kent to work, he specifically looked at Kent's foot and he was like, "Well, you can't drive. Uh, go with him and split wood. Let him do all the heavy lifting." And so I was relegated to lifting all the heavy shit and then putting on the splitter and splitting it. Kent, on the other hand, like Kent does not give a fuck. So Kent was helping me haul the shit and fucking putting on the splitter while I was splitting it. And then he tossed the logs into a pile until Donald thought it was a smart idea that, oh, hey, they've been picking up the wood and putting the wood down, then picking the wood up and splitting it and then putting into a pile. Let's add another section in which now they have to fucking pick up their pile while at the same time picking up the wood that's further in the fucking yard, bringing that back, splitting it. And while that person's doing all of that work, somebody takes the split wood they split the previous days and pick that up and throw that into the back. And so yesterday when we were going, because I'm telling you, it's not, I'm telling you, you like me describing it as wetland isn't even emphasizing how badly the fucking ground is. It's like walking through the fucking Somme. And so we have a whole fucking oak tree. It's heavy as a motherfucker. And Donald's like, yeah, bring a wheelbarrow with you. Wheelbarrow's not going to do shit. It's not. We'll be able to put one fucking log, maybe two logs onto this thing. And now what? Oh, we'll take a rope, tie that to the front. One of you guys pull it, and the other one pushes it. And Kent immediately looked at me and said, "So two donkeys and a mule cart is what Donald wants us to do." And so after we threw all the wood that we had previously split Monday into the basin, and we dropped it off at the shop in the back, uh, Kent had to talk to Mo about his phone plan because he wants to change over his phone number to a new phone. And he wants to keep the phone number because of all the people he has to talk to, like his doctors, the company he's going to be working for, all their secretaries, family, friends, etc. So he's been dealing with that bullshit. And so while he was in the side office where Donald's wife and his daughter work, I started walk. I went into the shop and then I walked into the landscaping shed to look for a splitting maul because I was like, wait a minute, we have a wheelbarrow. How about I take a splitting maul, go down there, and it'd be vastly more effective and more easy if I split the fucking wood first, right then and there on the ground, throw it into the wheelbarrow, then we could just cart the wood. It'd be the same weight, but it'd be split. And then we could just throw it in from the wheelbarrow. No, throw two logs on, bring it to the wood splitter, dump the two logs, go back, rinse and repeat like 5 fucking times. And now that we have 10 logs, split those, and then one person just keeps picking out those like a piece of split wood and throwing it into the back of the truck. Like tedious bullshit. No. So I start looking around the shop. And as soon as you go into the shop, into the back where Donald is, there's a barrel. And there's usually 3 splitting mauls. There's no splitting mauls. So I walk to the other barrel, which is where we have the brooms and shovels for when we do sweeping while we have a street sweeper with us. And I'm looking through that. There's no splitting maul. I check under the benches. I check on top of the benches. No splitting mauls. So I'm like, fuck. They're probably in Avids' shed, the landscaping shed. So I go into the landscaping shed. And the last time I was in that shed was a yellow handled splitting maul, an 8-pounder. There's nothing. So I look behind the snow shovels. It's not there. I look on top of the bench where the leaf blowers are and all the parts and stuff are, because usually somebody might leave it there. It's not there. I check underneath the bench. It's not there. I check under the tarps on the floor. It's not there. I check the top racks where we have other tools. It's not there. So it's fucking gone. So I start jogging around the fucking parking lot looking that maybe somebody used it here or maybe somebody used it there. There's a bunch of brush under wood chips. Maybe somebody left it next to that. There's a mini bobcat. Maybe somebody rested on that while they were doing it all. Nothing. Not a goddamn fucking thing. Ain't nothing fucking there. So I call my father because my father's the only person I know that would probably need a splitting maul. Uh, and then all of a sudden, while I'm talking to my father, because he's roofing a house in the freezing cold, it's supposed to be raining sometime around this time or tomorrow. By the way, good on you, Donald, for that. I ask him, "Where's the splitting mauls?" Cash took him back to his house because apparently they're his, and he doesn't want anybody using them. So there's no splitting mauls at the shop. Great, just great. So we had to do it the jackass way of throwing logs into a wheelbarrow and pulling and pushing them out of this wetland. Instead of doing it like my idea, like Kent thought it was a smart idea, my father thought it was a smart idea. The majority of people who asked me, like, who saw me walking around the shop and running around the parking lot looking for a splitting mall, like when they finally realized what I was doing, they're like, "Yeah, it'd actually be a lot fucking easier to do." It's like, yeah, it'd be a lot easier. Like, I'm I'm pretty fucking good at splitting wood with a splitting maul. I'm not going to waste my time doing all this stupid grunt work. Like if we had the splitting maul yesterday, we would have had everything done. At the end of the day, at around 3:30, we had four. Like we probably had an hour and a half to 2 hours tops of work left. There was probably between 7 to 10 logs left. Four of them were sitting right at the splitter, and then we had 7 or 10 in the wetlands that we had to haul. So that went to shit in that went to hell in a handbasket. Sucked. And then I've got a massive fucking bruise forming on the left side of my leg next to the knee and around the underneath it too, like it's wrapping around in a crescent shape. Because while I was splitting, one of the pieces of wood bucked back or kicked back and fucking smashed itself right into my left leg. So I got a nice big bruise. Pinched my ring finger on a log that I was dropping. My glove slipped and got caught by one of the knots. So that happened. Um, Kent already fractured his two toes on another job we did, but he pulled a muscle in his shoulder lifting one of the logs Monday. So yeah, we've been fucking ourselves up doing all this. It's been really backbreaking. And then I was supposed to go today with Kent to finish up the work, but I slept in because I was just absolutely exhausted. Pretty much every day I've been going to work, I've had to walk to work because I'm not dealing with the bullshit that is Cash giving me a ride. So you got to figure I'm waking up, if not staying awake, then leaving the house for 3 in the morning, walking to the shop, getting there for 5:30, and then working till 4 to 4:30 in the afternoon, and then leaving the shop around 5. So and then doing shit here like cooking, just zoning out, catching up on stuff. So absolutely exhausted. So I got to go to the shop. I'm going to the shop tomorrow to work. And I got to pick up my check because I didn't pick it up today. So that'll be fun. Fun, fun, fun. Thankfully, though, Kent's laid back. That's why I like working with him on jobs. We're taking a lot of breaks because it's back breaking, and he does like he even said, not even worth killing yourself for the pay you're getting. It's not worth it. That's my motto: work smarter, not harder. So we've been shooting the shit, just talking about stuff. Like Kent is just not happy with the business at all. Um, the last 2 days that we've been working, he's like, coffee break. We're taking like a 45-minute coffee break. Like, and then we'll drive out of the way. We'll go past the Dunkin' Donuts to another one that's farther because, as Kent's logic is, why the fuck do we get bitched at for taking a 10-minute coffee break when the guys at the shop aren't doing shit and they have like 10 coffee? They go out to get 10 coffees throughout the day. Like, fuck them. Like they're not breaking their backs doing anything really like intensive, but we are. Fuck them. So there's that. Oh well, fuck you then. Uh, so yeah, that's what's been going on the last week or so. Uh, other than that, pretty much not much has been going on. Just been relaxing. Got Stronghold 2. I've been playing that a while. For some reason, I have not gotten some of the achievements I should have gotten, like 1,000 granary food stocked up. I don't like. At first, I thought maybe it's because I got over 1,000 food. Like, there's 4 food types: uh, fruit or apples, bread, cheese, and meat. Those are the 4 food types that you feed your peasants. I had 1,000 like total for all 4 of them. Like the number for all 4 equal 1,000 food, like a little over it, and I didn't get the achievement. So I thought maybe I need 1,000 in each of the food stocks. I've got that. Still don't have the achievement. So I don't know if that's applied for. I don't know if it's not registering it or I need to be in a certain game mode. Don't know. The other thing is have one of every military unit active. I did that. Didn't get the achievement. 250 of each royal food, which is eels, pig, geese, vegetables, and wine. Got that. No achievement for that. I did get the achievement for marrying because I built the bed chambers so I could have the dances, because that's one of the things that you can do for honor in the game. You need honor and gold to purchase units, but I haven't, like, that's the only achievement I've gotten, which is weird. Collect all this, collect gong or shit, because you need a poop smith to collect the feces that accumulates in your village or your city or whatever. Haven't gotten that. The amount of rats I fucking killed, haven't gotten that. Um, what else? For some reason, crime is insane in this in the playthrough I'm doing. Like, I don't even know. Oh wow, good on you, Sten. Party hard. But yeah, crime is insane in my game. Like I always have at least a minimum of -2 for crime. There's always at least 4 fucking criminals in my village, and I have 2 chopping blocks, so I'm always killing the criminals. And there's always 2 more. Like it's like a fucking hydra. Every time I kill one, another one replaces him, and it's always the same fucking villagers too. It's the wheat farmers and the bakers. Thankfully, though, I have uh uh let's see, I have a church with plenty of candles, so I have a +4 from that for happiness. I have a traveling fair that'll give me a +5 every, I think it's every 3 months. I think it's every 3 months. Like there's a certain time period where it comes in. I think it's spring and summer it'll be there, but fall and winter it's not. That's a +5 half every half a year. Uh, I have ale. I have a tavern, so that's a +4 right off the bat. And then what else do I have that makes people fucking happy? I think that's it. I think those are the only 3 things I have that make people happy. I have taxes up to a -8 for happiness, but I need the money because I'm trying to get another achievement in the game, which is I think collect 10,000 gold or 100,000 gold. Plus, I'm constantly selling resources because the way I've built the castle, uh, and it's one of the things I hate about Stronghold 2 is that the granary's fine. Like back in Stronghold 1, you would have to build more granaries to supplement your food growth. So you like once you had a massive village or at this point like a city-sized like society, you'd have 9 granaries stuck into like a 3 by 3 brick, and you'd have to constantly keep putting more food in those. Same thing with the stockade or the stockpile. You'd have to keep building this massive stockpiles to because you'd have more resources you would need for certain things. Like I need pitch to line the exterior walls with pitch, so that my archers that have braziers next to them can fire flaming arrows at the pitch, and that'll ignite the whole pitch field. Or I want burning oil on the castle wall so they can dump burning hot oil on people. Well, you're going to need pitch. So pitch is going to be put into the stockades or the stockpile. And then you need your stone goes there, your wood, your wheat, flour. Uh, fuck, what else? Iron, um, hops, like all that kind of shit gets put into the stockpile. And in Stronghold 2, you now have wool, uh, fuck, grapes. Grapes don't go into the granary now. They go into the stockpile because you turn them into wine. Um, Fabric that's from the wool. You need a fuck. I forget the name of I forgot the name of it. I think it's a weaver. You need a weaver to take the wool from a sheep herder and turn that into fabric, and then the fabric gets put into the stockpile, and then the lord's lady will go to the stockpile, take the cloth that the fabric that she needs, bring it back to her bedchambers, and then she'll make them into dresses. And this is right, you'll have a dance. So there's that. Uh, Then, when you make a wheat field, you'll collect the wheat that goes into the stockpile. If you have a windmill, or just it's just called a mill, the miller boy will go there, grab the wheat, bring it back to the other guys. They'll grind it down into flour. He'll then grab the bags of flour, run them back to the stockpile, and stock that. Then the bakers that you have will then go to the stockpile and grab the flour, turn that into bread, and then they'll go into the granary. When you have a chandler who makes candles, you need beehives. And so it's best to have the beehives right next to the chandlers. So they have the wax. They then take the candles and put that to the stockpile. And then once you have a church, the clergyman or a priest will go to the stockpile, grab the candles he needs, and conduct mass. So now the problem with both Stronghold 1 and Stronghold 2 is stockpiles and granaries have to be close to the keep. At least in Stronghold 1. In Stronghold 2, you can place the granary and stockpile wherever you want, but here's the problem. There's a range that you can place a stockpile. So if you set your stockpile right next to your keep, there's a certain sphere of influence where you can put the second one. You can't put it somewhere else where it's needed. Like, so it's incredibly limiting if you're if you're city planning or theoretically mapping out where buildings are going to go, and we're going to have this district where it's just going to be making like weapons and armor, and this area is going to be for farmland. Like, once you set down that stockpile or that granary, like, that's it. That's where it's going to be. Sorry, but them's the dice. So can kind of be a pain in the ass. So I've been trying to get some of the achievements there, and then I'll probably be doing the story campaign soon. But I'm having a good time besides that. Yeah, it sounds complicated, but it's not really as complicated. I'd say there's a lot of problems with there's a lot of slight problems with Stronghold 2 that they should have fixed. The stockpile and the granary are, well, the granary in Stronghold 2 is vastly better than Stronghold 1 in that it's one granary and that's it. So you only need one granary. Save me, Darth. I'm watching a Super Mario 3 randomizer. Give in to the randomizers, Sten. Give into it. But my gripes with Stronghold 2, uh one is wolves. Wolves produce rapidly, and they'll just constantly keep spawning. Like, no matter how many times. Like, no matter how many times you kill the wolves, they'll spawn right back to where they originally started, just constantly. So there'll never be a time where you can actually just relax. Uh, fuck. Masons, masons and iron mines. You need So when you build one of them, masons will you have to build onto stone, and there's a special type of stone region on the maps where you can produce stone that you can use to build castle walls, and stuff like that, because certain buildings need stone. So you need a masonry, a mason camper, stone cutters, or whatever. So when you set them down, they won't deliver the stone like in Stronghold 1 or 2. Actually, I don't even think that happens in Stronghold 1 or 2. I think in Stronghold 1, miners that mine iron ore will bring the iron ingots to you. But I think for stone cutters, you need an oxen. You need oxen to do it, and you need men to lead the oxen. Problem is, from my experience, if you have people idling, not doing anything, there's a higher chance of them becoming criminals. So if you set down some stone cutters and they start cutting up stone, it takes a long time for them to produce enough stone to load up an oxen uh, or an ox. And so there's been times where when I used to first start playing the game, there'd just be an ox standing right next to it with its handler, and the stone cutters would cut one block and then it'd be immediately transported onto the ox. And so they keep doing that. And once the ox finally reaches the stockpile and comes back, the stone cutters are now completely full. Like they are completely topped off with stone and they have no room for it, so they just idle. And then once the ox comes back and loads up, they're still half full. So you have to build a fuck ton of oxen to do that. Problem with that is, like, once you have enough oxen to keep your stone cutters working constantly, you're bringing in so much stone or so much iron that you run out of stockpile room like instantaneously sometimes. Like I built two drawbridge gatehouses, which are like 200 stone apiece, and I built a massive three thick stone wall perimeter around my keep and around a vast portion of my city. Stone square towers are 100 stone apiece. Did that, and I was still getting like 300 stone for my oxen and stone cutter crew. Like it is insane how much. And I have three stone cutters because I was like, I need a lot of stone fast so I can build like the quote unquote end game stuff. Even there is no end game. It's just I wanted to build like my castle walls, divide the districts up, get all the gatehouses set. Uh Another thing I'd like is the ability to build roads so that the AI for your villagers will know where to go instead of wandering through, cuz gong it's shit, people. Like we all know it's shit. So shit starts accumulating all over your village and you need a shit cleaner. You need a janitor, a gong farmer, a poop smith. And so it starts accumulating in random spots where there's a lot of traffic. Problem is, the AI for the villagers is quite rudimentary, to say the least. They will just wander in between buildings and like through alleyways, quote unquote, and all that. I would kind of liked it if you could lay down roads to mitigate this dilemma to where it's like, oh, the roads that like the AI will prioritize walking on these roads. So like in a city, I could be like, well, I'm laying down road for here, so this is where all the villages will work, and then I could have a poop smith just cleaning up the roads. That would have been nice because with the way I do it, it also would just be aesthetically pleasing. I don't really like the fact that like you build a statue on grass and it's in the middle of a fucking city and the entire city is just like buildings on top of grass. Like, and I have well over 300 villagers walking through this place all the time with food and supplies and resources and whatnot, and nothing happens. Not even a dirt path. So kind of meh. Kind of wish it was better. So there's that. Um, what's another gripe I have? I think um, map size would probably be another one. Map size definitely has to be another problem I have. Like even the largest size maps are kind of just meh because most of the main maps that the game automatically like just gives you normally are they just have these large mountainous regions that just meh. Let's see. Not sure what else to talk about. Hmm. Goddamn phone. Yeah, I guess I could call it for the first of series two. Um, Today's Thursday, so I'll probably try and go for a Saturday stream show as well. I'll probably think of better titles. But thanks for coming, Sten. Uh, you have fun with your Super Mario 3 randomizer. I know I still have to catch up on a fuck ton of videos on YouTube still. Like it's like a hydra. I'll watch one video and then I'm like, "Ooh, I haven't been binge watched this guy in a while." And then I got like 6 more videos. So, I'll talk to you later. I'll probably hop on to Stronghold 2. Uh and I'll think of topics to bitch about for Saturday. Until then, you have a nice night.